welcome to the show. I'm so excited to have you here. I was actually introduced to you and your work at DL Sharon's Emancipation Experience in Washington, D.C., which was like one of the most luxurious conferences I've ever fucking been at. I'm like, what is this? And the speakers were all incredible, compelling. And I found your story particularly inspiring. And I thought it would be really useful to have you on the show because, as you may know, I'm an entrepreneurship coach, and there's a lot of people that have businesses or that aspire to have businesses that listen to the show. And one of the recurring themes that we're going to dive into today is you do not have to be a slave to your social media in order to market your business, make $1 million plus, and burn out. We don't need to do all that shit. And I know you have direct experience, so we're going to talk all about that. But before we dive in, give us a little intro. Tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Yes, first, thank you so much for having me. This is a dream. Y'all don't even know. Like when I came into this industry, I feel like you and I came in like at a similar time. I was like the 2019 era. I'm just so thankful to be on the show because this is in rotation, has been in rotation for years. So I'm
I
very
love
excited.
it.
Thank you for having me. Yes, my name is Kirsten and I am a business coach for coaches, service providers, and agency owners. And I really specialize in email marketing and operations as well. And my whole thing is I just want entrepreneurs to have peace. That's all I want. And I'm a firm believer that you need 4 skills to have a peaceful business. And specifically, people that come to me, they want a peaceful $1 million business. And that's email marketing, team, systems, and mindset. So email is like the foundation of everything when it comes to, because, you don't have a business if you can't market and sell. So it's the foundation of everything. And I'm really excited to talk about it today. But I have 2 programs. I have $1 Million Email, which helps coaches, service providers, agency owners make social media optional. And then I have $1 Million CEO, which helps people scale to 1 million peacefully and with at least 50% profit. So that's me.
Wow, that's amazing. First of all, when you say making $1 million peacefully, I'm like, anybody who's listening to that is like, ma'am, how? Because I personally know a lot of 7-figure business owners whose lives look anything but peaceful. And I'm just like, I don't really know if I want that life, okay? Because that just looks like the hamster wheel of corporate America that I fought so hard to escape from by being an entrepreneur. So I want to know first, was this always your career? Like, were you always in marketing, or how did you get into this industry?
Good question. I was in healthcare. So no, I was not in marketing. I was in healthcare. I was in cardiology, very random. But I always say I grew up a social media baby and a social media lover. Like I was raised by social media. So I had blogs, which is why I love your brand so much. I had blogs and I specifically had a hair blog. And the way that I found the coaching industry was I had coaches engaging with my blog. And I remember there was this one coach who, I don't know if they still have this handle, but the handle was social media manager coach. And I was like, what's a social media manager? Like, can I do that? Because I always had wanted to work from home, work for myself. I hated healthcare. I was always a side hustler, always a professional side hustler. I had a house cleaning business on the side. I was doing all kinds of things, nannying. And so for me, when I saw that, I said, oh, social media management. I know how to manage social media. And so that's what led me into the industry. I started as a social media manager. People that know me, and you will learn this in the episode, you know that that makes no sense for me. Being a social media manager makes no sense for me. I hate social media. I hated social media management. I was done with that within 2 months of starting my business. And I actually ended up becoming an online business manager, which was much more in line with my skill set, or a virtual assistant, as some people know it as. And yeah, I ended up scaling into an agency and then becoming a coach and going from there. So that's an overview of my story, but I did not start
Wow.
in marketing. No.
Well, I'm guessing because you're a fellow Boricua like myself, that you probably got some messaging at home that was like, go into science, go into medical, because that's what's going to make you the money and that's what's going to be stable.
I actually wanted to, so I went to college during the recession
Mm.
and I wanted to go a creative field. I wanted to do graphic design. I was exploring like graphic design or music production. And my mother was like, you're out of your mind. Like, absolutely not. You will go to medicine or you will not live in this house. And
Yeah.
like, that's that. And then I will say what I am thankful for that my mom did instill in me was get the job to pay for your next thing. So she never like downed me for wanting something different, but she always was like, I just want you to have a stable income so that it can pay for whatever your next passion is, pay off your student loans with it and go pursue your next passion, but always have something. So yes, that was
Yeah.
definitely messaging. I mean, really, there was no choice. It was like, no, you have to go medical.
Yeah,
So that's what
that
I
is
did.
real.
Yep.
But I'm glad that you mentioned that kind of mindset of prepare yourself for the next thing, right? Because I like to tell people your paycheck is your angel investor in your business, right? Like before you start making money, you need some sort of capital to invest in your business, whether that's, buying some new equipment, software, whatever. And the same way that you would put aside money for something that's important to you, like, I don't know, taking a vacation with your family or maybe upgrading your car, your business should be something that you earmark in your budget. If you want to take it seriously, then funding it through your paycheck is the way that it's going to happen. Because most of us, especially if you're like a first gen kid who has no safety net, whose parents are not going to bail you out, you cannot afford to just fucking quit your job and go and jump out the plane and hope that your business is going to be successful. So, to folks who feel like you have to pick and choose if you have the capacity to start a business based on whether you're working full time or not, I promise you, a lot of the stuff that you've seen, a lot of the people that have been on the show have started as side hustles. It hasn't been that somebody just quits their job and like figures shit out.
I
So,
didn't quit my
yeah, go
job
ahead.
until I had a 300K business. I mean, I had
Girl,
300K a year
same.
before I quit. I was like, you had to rip me out of my job. I was like, listen, until we are sure that this is
Yeah.
a thing. So I agree with that messaging 100%. It's like, you don't have to go jump out. You can side hustle it and still be really successful and then leave.
Yeah. Okay, so give us like a day in the life of that side hustle beginning story, right? Because I think one of the things that overwhelms people with the idea of starting their business as a side hustle is just this sheer amount of where the hell am I going to find the time? So, what did that look like for you?
Oh my goodness. So I was working in a very demanding healthcare job. It was 7 to 7. So it wasn't
Oh,
9 to 5, it was 7 to 7 between commute and everything. So,
wow.
I would wake up early in the morning. For me, I chose early mornings and not late nights because I was really protective of my time with my husband and with my
Mm,
friends. And so I made the decision not to do a 5 to 9 p.m. I did a 5 to 7 a.m.
yeah.
So I would wake up early. I would market my business the way I knew how, which at that time was through social media. And I'll get into how that wasn't working for me anymore. But I would market my business. I would take sales calls at 5 a.m. too. Like it was, I mean, I
Wow.
would do everything. Yes. And I had people that were getting on sales calls with me at 5 a.m. And so that was that. I would go to work. And when I was at work in healthcare and specifically in my department, you can't have any phones on you.
Right.
It would break HIPAA. So, which is like a privacy thing. So there was no working on my business at work, like at all. There was no, even if I went out on lunch, I wanted to relax. Like I was
Right.
tired. And so I was truly disconnected from social media. And I was like, man, how am I going to grow my business if 10 hours of the day I'm not connected to the people that could potentially buy from me? And then at night, I would come home exhausted. I would spend time with my husband, veg out, and then just do it again the next day. For me, I also at that time was really struggling with depression. I've always lived with depression ongoing. And I was just like, wow, between being depressed, busy, and a wife
Exhausted.
and a friend, I'm exhausted. I'm tired. Like, and at that time, the recommendation, now this is the 2019 era, everyone. This is like the Stone Age. At that time, the recommendation was talk to 10 people a day, make sure you're connecting in hashtags, make sure you're right. It was this whole like 10, 20 step thing. And I just was like, I just don't think I could do this every day. Like there
Yeah.
has to be a different way. That's what eventually led me to email marketing.
It's funny because I think a lot of times people are enamored with the idea of entrepreneurship because they don't know the real deal of like what that build phase is. And I like to remind folks there will always be a hustle phase. Okay. There will always be the trial and error phase where you figure shit out and where you find out what works, what you find out what you even like to do. Right. And that's all part of it. You don't get to skip that part. So if this initial phase kind of freaks you out, you need to just remember this is a temporary thing as long as you're always looking to optimize. You don't want to stay in the position where you are relying on yourself for everything. And this is why one of the things that you teach is so important is like, how do you optimize and create systems in your business that allow you to get off the hamster wheel? Because the solopreneur life is cute for a little while until you're working a 40+ hour a week job. And then you're trying to scale this business and you're still trying to like work out and, take care of your mental health and be there for your loved ones. The time can go by. And so you have to have this like long-term perspective of this short season of hustle is going to end, but I have to be intentional about building my business in a way that's actually going to make that possible.
Yeah, something I tell my clients is peace is work. Peace isn't
Ooh.
laying on the beach. I think it's very common, especially with like people that talk about making $1 million. It's like the first class flights and the designer bags of it all. And I'm all for that. I am a first class and designer bag girly. Do not get it twisted.
Same.
But I always tell my clients, I'm like, we're not laying on the beach all day. To have peace, it takes work. And definitely for that season, it did. And for me, to your point, I didn't feel like I had the luxury to not have systems. Like when people are like, oh yeah, I just did everything manually when I started I did it all I'm like, how? I mean, that wasn't an option for me. It was always, how can I be as automated as possible, have support, as much support as I need. Yeah, it didn't seem like a luxury, and neither did email marketing at that time either. I was like, this isn't a luxury, this is a necessity.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's talk about how you started to optimize your business so that you were not a slave to social media. So what did that initial investment resource, what did that look like?
It all started with, I was an online business manager that had a client that wanted me to write emails for her list. She liked my content and felt like I was a good writer. And she was like, can you write some emails? My email list is completely dead. I have thousands of people, but nobody's bought in years. I don't even think it's going to work, but I have you. You're a good writer. Why don't you write me an email?
Right.
And the first email I wrote made her hundreds of dollars. It's so funny because in this industry, we're all about like the thousands and the hundreds of thousands and the millions. But for me, that hundreds of dollars, I think it was like 800, it blew my mind. It blew my mind that I could just write words and make money. And so I had this moment where I was like, I need to be doing this for my business. What am I doing? Right. And so then I kept sending emails for her, and she then was making thousands and thousands of dollars without even writing anything. And that was just a big light bulb for me. And I went and got an email marketing certification that did nothing, right? It just taught me best practices, what's a gray subscriber versus a dead subscriber, things like that. And it was definitely helpful to make me feel confident talking about email with others. But then I just became obsessed with figuring out email for my business and growing my list and converting people. And so I just started sharing it as an OBM, which is funny. At that time, I just was like, we all need to be doing email marketing. I was obsessed with it. And that is what really helped me simplify my marketing, especially as a side hustler. I would every Sunday, I called it my Spicy Sunday series. Every Sunday, I would write 4 emails, and I had all my emails for the week or the month, whatever I was available to do. And I didn't have to worry about marketing, and I could just work all week and just like not worry that I wasn't connecting with my leads. So that was how I stumbled into it, was just having someone that asked me to write an email for them.
Wow, I love it. It's you just never know how the universe is going to put you on the path where you are now. So just always be paying attention, y'all. You just never know. Okay, so as far as emails, let's talk about it, because I think one of the big perceptions that I've seen from folks, especially who have like small social media followings, are like, well, what the hell is the point of an email list when I'm not going to have anybody sign up for this?
Oh, I love that. I love that question because that's a common one. I had a super small following too. I was at like 100 followers when I started my email list, and you would be amazed at what just 10 subscribers could do for your business, 20 subscribers could do for your business. So what I always tell people is, when people ask me, how many subscribers do I need to actually be successful with email marketing? I always say, how many clients do you want? And they're like 5. And I'm like, so you need 5 subscribers. Especially if you have the right conversion strategy, you can do so much with so little. And I pride myself on that. I hit my first $1 million year with a list below 1,000 subscribers. To this
Wow.
day, I'm only at like 1,100 even still. I still have a very small list for my income level. 1,000 can be considered big for others, but you can do so much with so little. And now is actually the time when you're small on Instagram. It's the best time to get in the habit of driving people to your email list, because now it's the culture of your page that,
Mhm.
hey, I primarily go to email, and that's what
Yeah.
I primarily market through. So it's actually the best possible time if your account is small to be setting that culture on your page that we do the majority of our stuff over in email marketing.
Got it. Now, how do we entice folks to actually join the email list, right? Because if you think about anybody, they've probably got a shit ton of emails coming into their inbox every single day. So, like, how do we get somebody to essentially open up their digital address to us?
Oh, yes. Okay. So I tell my clients, it's very simple. You have to be a genius. And
Okay, no big deal.
here's what I mean. Here's what I mean. People want to join lists so that they can learn from what they consider geniuses.
Mm,
They want to learn from like someone where they're like, oh, this content is so interesting and fascinating, relevant to me. I never thought about it this way or anything like that. So they want to read emails from people who they view as geniuses. So what that looks like is very simple. To entice people to come to your list, you have to let them know that you have really good content on your email list.
mhm.
So it could be as simple as, hey, this week, this is everything that I'm going to be talking about on my list, and making sure that it's content that's intriguing and interesting and relevant to your ideal clients, and they will join your list from there. And this is always shocking to people. They want that more than the freebie. They want that more than the webinar. They want that more than the free challenge. They want someone that they can consistently learn from. And that's the people that are going to join your list and actually stay on your list as well.
No, that makes a lot of sense because I think about even the newsletters that I read, it's because I know that I'm getting something of value from folks versus just some other generic nonsense that I'm like, I could have Googled this shit, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. You have to actually be a thought leader. The more
Mhm.
you're a thought leader, the more subscribers not only come to your list, but actually stay on your list, which is a big thing is with freebies. And I actually teach a no freebie strategy with freebies and webinars and things like that. It's very common for people to see mass unsubscribes, right?
Mhm.
During a launch or when you're starting to sell to your email list more, whatever it is. But if you're just inviting people to join your list and learn from you,
Yeah.
those are the people that actually stay
Mhm.
because they came in with that expectation.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite email marketing platform? Because there's a shit ton of them out there.
I have pros and cons with everything. I was on Active Campaign for years, years, and I actually ended up not liking it from a user experience perspective. And then now I'm on ConvertKit, and I have things that I don't like about ConvertKit too. The ones I recommend inside Million Dollar Email are, if you're a beginner, MailerLite. I
Yeah,
think
I love MailerLite.
MailerLite is the absolute best email marketing platform for beginners. Don't do Flowdesk, y'all. Please don't do Please don't do Flowdesk. And by the way, I think Flowdesk is nice. It's beautiful. It does the job, but like you're going to have to move out of it eventually. While with MailerLite, it's very scalable, even if you stay with it for forever. So I like
Yeah.
MailerLite for beginners. And then I like ConvertKit for intermediate, like someone that doesn't need all the bells and whistles, but does need a little bit of them. And then I
Yeah.
like Active Campaign if you're like getting real advanced. But honestly, even with ConvertKit, like I feel like all the things that I wanted from Active Campaign are coming from ConvertKit now. Like ConvertKit's recently done updates and things like that. So I even am like, ConvertKit could probably be both intermediate and advanced even.
Mhm. What if you're like a course creator? Because obviously, a lot of these platforms have their own built in email marketing, whether we're talking about something like Teachable or Kajabi. What's your take on those?
Okay, my take is that the only course platform that has really good email marketing capabilities is Kartra.
Okay.
Kartra has incredible email marketing capabilities, better than even like standalone platforms like ConvertKit, ActiveCampaign. The analytics are so easy to see, so easy to view. I mean, it's like its own email marketing platform. While with something like Kajabi, you have so many limitations with the email marketing. For example, I think one of them is, from what I last remember, is you can't choose your send time in your funnel, for example. If you have an automated funnel, you can't choose your send time. It just sends based on the user and they're most engaged. It's weird. Anyway, so stuff like that is the downside of having like using email marketing for an all-in-one, unless it's Kartra. I think Kartra, if I weren't on Kajabi and like my entire life wasn't on Kajabi, I would move everything to Kartra, including email marketing. But right now, since I'm stuck on Kajabi for now, I use ConvertKit.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, no, and I think it's important to know that these platforms, you can transfer across them, right? So it's like the same idea as a web host when you have a website. You're not stuck with them. If for whatever reason you want to move your list somewhere else, it's very easy, especially if they have good customer service. So don't feel like it's an end all be all decision right now of, oh my God, if I choose this platform, I'm stuck here forever. It's not the case. That's never the case.
Yes. Your list is always very movable. That's the easy part. I was just referencing the courses.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can always move very easily.
Okay. So let's talk about the funnel that goes into feeding your email marketing subscribers, right? Where are we actually advertising the fact that you can join our newsletter or our email list?
Yeah, good question. So I always say advertise it on wherever you're currently marketing. So if you're currently marketing on LinkedIn, you should be advertising it consistently on LinkedIn. If you're currently marketing on TikTok, consistently market on TikTok, Instagram, etc. So wherever you're currently marketing is where you want to advertise your list. Threads, a lot of my clients are seeing a lot of success on Threads because that's where they are the most. I just always say wherever your highest engaged platform is. So don't go like starting a TikTok because you think you're going to get a bunch of subscribers. I've seen clients do that. And I'm like, no. It needs to be wherever your current audience is most engaged right now, not later, right now. That's where you're going to promote it. And also, I have clients that are not on social media that promote it in many creative ways. I have clients that promote it at their 9-to-5 job. Actually, they'll do classes at their 9-to-5 job and then they'll collect emails from there, local community boards, local workshops, things like that. I see a lot of that, especially for my fitness folks. I notice in the fitness niche, they'll host a class at the park and they collect emails. And I even have people that will collect, they have like a QR code and they just, if they're like a boutique, I have so many different kinds of niches in the program. So if they're a boutique owner, they have a QR code where people will join the list anytime they make a purchase at the farmer's market or whatever it is. So there's so many ways to grow your email list and promote it wherever you are. So like when you're on a podcast interview, promote it. When you're on stage, promote it. So wherever you are, promote your email list.
So what I hear you saying is basically you have to get very good at the self-promotion, which is absolutely the case because nobody's going to know what you're doing unless you decide to tell them.
Exactly. And you have to be excited about your own content that you're creating for email because nobody's going to be excited to read your emails if you're not excited. So there's such a difference between, hey, I'm emailing my list this week, join my email list to learn this, this, and that, versus I'm emailing my list about these topics. And this is every way. These topics are going to change your life because it's the best topics you've ever seen, etc. Yeah. So you have to be excited about your content too when you're promoting.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay, let's talk about email frequency, right? Because I think there's a lot of misconceptions about, is there such thing as emailing your people too much? Or should I just be harassing them every day?
Now we're getting into a controversial take that I have, which is there's no such thing as emailing too much if you're writing good emails or if you're writing what I call genius emails. So nobody wants 5 emails a day in your launch that aren't good. And what is good? How do we measure good? We measure good by someone thinking to themselves, this is relevant to me. This is something that I needed to see or hear or learn, etc. Or someone saying like, oh, which is going back to this is relevant to me. It's like, this is exactly what I'm going through right now. So that's how you measure a good or a genius email. Someone being like, wow, this is what I needed to see. This is relevant to me. If you're not doing that and you're just writing a bunch of where you at? Name, email, and are you coming? Name, are you joining? Name. If you're just writing a bunch of those emails, no, nobody wants to get spammed by you. That's where they feel harassed. However, I've sent, and this is shocking to people, I've sent as many as 10 emails in a day. And I
Okay.
had people literally email me saying, I'm surprised I'm not annoyed. Like anyone else sending these would be so annoying, but you were just like hitting it all for me. So I always go back to genius emails. If you have genius emails and you know how to write them, you can send as many as you want and people will love it. They'll eat it up, they'll buy from them, and they will stay on your list. But if you're not, yeah, you're going to get unsubscribed. You're going to get reply back saying, why are you spamming me? You're going to get spam complaints, all the things.
Yeah, it's like you have to really know who you're talking to, right? This is why the work of getting to know your ideal client and getting to really understand what their pain points are and what drives them to make decisions and that sales psychology, it's very important, y'all. And you're not going to be an expert at this on day one. Like you have to give yourself permission to experiment and test and hone in and get good at this. It's a skill set just like anything else. So, one of the things that a lot of my online content creator students wonder is there ever a place for somebody who doesn't necessarily want to sell something to have a newsletter? Like, is there a reason for us to email people if the goal is not to sell?
I think there is. I've been thinking a lot about influencers and I've been observing influencers on TikToks that have done like launches and things like that. And I've been like, if they had an email list, they would have a way more, like an even more engaged community. They would improve their launch conversions, right, for their brand deals and things like that. Like they could just do so much if they were doing email marketing. So I believe, yes, like if you're not necessarily selling a service or a product, but you want to build a community, the best way to build a community is by driving them to your email list. I used to describe, and I still do, but I used to always say your email list is like, you should treat it like it's an exclusive membership. It's like, even though nobody's paying for it, it is a place where they get exclusive content from you and get to hear about things first, about your life, your business, whatever you're doing, your blog, et cetera. Even if you just, maybe you're not selling something, but you want to drive blog traffic, email marketing is the best way to do that. So what I say to my clients is a conversion can mean many different things. A conversion is just whatever your goal is. It doesn't mean it's a sale. So if your goal is blog traffic, that's a form of conversion that you're looking for. Yeah, everyone should have an email list.
When we think about how fickle social media platforms can be and how quickly your entire audience can disappear, even if you aren't selling something, for instance, if you are somebody that works with brands and all of a sudden your whole shit is shut down on social media, it's like, how are you going to make money, honey? So you need to be able to contact people and be like, hey guys, just a heads up, my social media on this platform is deactivated. So please go and follow me on this other one.
Also, I was thinking there was this recent brand launch that I was a part of as a consumer and I loved it. But the brand emailed me about like the drop. I just asked myself the question, I don't know, but I'm like, I wonder if they negotiated to have those subscribers that the brand got. I hope they did so that they can like maximize on that for what if they want their own product one day, right? So I was like, why aren't they emailing me? Why is the brand the only one that's emailing me? So yeah, I'm always thinking, even if right now you're not selling, it just never hurts to have an audience for whatever you may want to do in the future.
Yeah. Okay. Automation tools like ManyChat, yay or nay? And if so, why?
Yes, I've been seeing a lot of people using ManyChat. The thing about ManyChat is not the automation itself, rather what they're sending people to. So generally, the majority of people that I've seen are sending people, they're saying comment, email to get my free training,
Whatever.
right? Like a webinar. And my entire thing is always, I always tell people that freebie should not be the primary way that you grow your list.
Ooh,
The primary way, the primary way that you should grow your list is actually through what I call your weekly series, which is literally just an opt-in where you say, I send emails every week on these topics. And the reason being is because you can get all these ManyChats and all these subscribers, but they don't stay on the list. A lot of them unsubscribe after receiving the freebie, and they're just not the highest quality subscriber because they really came for the one thing, the one topic, the one offer that you're promoting. And we want subscribers that are interested in your entire business, that are interested in anything you sell whenever you sell it. And so you're more likely to get that through the weekly series because you're like, hey, you're joining this list just with the knowledge that you're going to get emails from me every week on these topics. So you get a higher quality subscriber. So with that said, I wish more people would use ManyChat to grow their list in that way. And I'm not anti-freebie. I still do freebies. It's just not the primary way I grow my list. I think people would see way more success with their email list if they were doing that and using ManyChat to do that. While right now, what's happening with some of my clients is they have all these ManyChats. It's sending them to their email list. And now they have all these segments of their audience, like audience members that like this topic versus that topic versus this versus that. And that's not going to be helpful when you are selling another offer and you have all these segmented audiences that aren't interested in it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, absolutely. You want people who are holistically interested in like whatever it is that you have going on. And that makes so much sense.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that approach. And it really does invite folks into your ecosystem versus just forming a very fickle relationship that's just based on this one transaction of I'm going to get this free thing and blah, blah, blah. I love that mindset. At what point, if any, should someone consider outsourcing their email marketing versus being the one to write them themselves, right? Because I've kind of gone back and forth with this as a business owner myself. And I just feel like I haven't yet gotten to the point where I feel like anybody has really been able to fully embody an email from me. And so I don't know, is there a right or wrong way to do this?
So good. I have an email marketing agency, a Done For You, where I write emails for people as well. And what I always say is you will always have to write your own emails, even if someone else is also writing them.
Interesting.
Because you're changing, your concepts are changing, your philosophies are changing. So even if you have someone writing your emails, you will still also need to write them. Another example is, let's say you're in a launch, a copywriter delivered all their emails to you, like their job is done. And the launch is going well, but like you're getting some new objections that maybe weren't covered. You need to be able to jump in and write your emails and cover those objections. So I just think like you should always have the expectation that you will always need to also write your emails and you will always need that skill. Also, now the team and systems brain is coming in to lead your team. How are you going to lead your team if you don't know how to do that as well? So I do not like when people, here's what I'm looking for. Like when I'm signing on a client, I'm like, if someone is saying, I just never want to write emails again in my life, I'm always like, red flag, because you're gonna need to. You're gonna need to. And also too, like, and I can go on a whole rant about this, but I'm also like, if you don't know your own voice, how are you gonna communicate it? If you haven't written your own emails, how is a copywriter supposed to know your voice? What, from your social media? Well, your social media is going to be different from your email, so I just think you should always expect, even if you're delegating, you should always expect to also write emails and have to know that skill.
I think it's very much in line with the conversation around organic versus paid marketing. You know, I think a lot of people think about paid marketing way too soon. And it's like, is your organic shit working? Because your whole paid marketing strategy is going to be based on what's working organically. And if you don't even have enough data to make a wise decision, you're just going to be throwing money down the drain.
My most successful agency clients have been ones that are like, I'm killing it. I'm very good at email marketing and I'm just ready. Like, because of that, I have all the resources I need to actually delegate this. And I'm still going to jump in as I need. And those are the most successful clients, are the ones that are like, I'm doing very well with this.
All right, let's talk AI. Are you a fan of things like ChatGPT when it comes to email marketing?
I've been playing with ChatGPT myself so that I can have a really well-rounded answer about this. And I'm still in the process of formulating my opinion, but I'm halfway there. So I'll give you what I have.
Sure.
So at first I was like, absolutely not. Like, no, we don't do that. No AI written emails. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I'm still there. I still think you need to write your entire email yourself. However, what I've been playing with is using ChatGPT to fill in the gaps or to support with like a brain block. So for example, you wrote your whole email and then you're like, you submit it to ChatGPT and you can ask it something like, hey, is there anything I might be missing that my ideal client would ask? Like, could this email raise any questions that I should include in the email? Or how do you recommend I expand on this idea based on my ideal client, et cetera, et cetera. You have to be very detailed. That can be very useful. I just recently did that with a podcast episode where I submitted it in and was like, is there anything I'm missing? And I got some good gaps that I was missing, like some good extra questions that I was able to add in. So for me, it's using it as a compliment, but writing your own emails is important for several reasons. First and foremost, what I always tell my clients is when you write your own emails, it helps you with your confidence in your offer because you're forced to sit and talk about how amazing your offer is. So it helps you with your mindset. It also helps you improve your messaging because the more you write emails, the more you're able to see like, okay, this is what lands with my audience. This is what doesn't. And also you just get better at communicating your offer. You just get better at it. So there's so many good reasons to write your own emails, but also AI, I just often am like, first of all, the level of detail you have to get a prompt, at least right now, to even get that. You might as well have written the freaking email. Like just write the email. But also, I have yet to see an AI email that has all the components it needs to be converting. So there's also like, yes, it may have written the email, but is it a converting email? Does it have all the components it needs? That is where it's still falling short. So that's how I've been approaching it so far. And I actually plan on like digging in more and potentially even like taking a class on it to just learn more for my clients. But because even with team and systems, you can use it a lot. But so far, I'm like, use it as a compliment, use it to kind of fill in the gaps, give your brain some extra ideas, but you're always going to have to customize. And honestly, ooh, this is good. So I don't believe in email templates. And for me, I'm like, if you have ChatGPT write an email and then you go to try to fill it in, you're just using a template and it's taking you longer than just writing the email. So you think you're saving time, but you're actually not.
That makes a lot of sense, and you can very easily tell like when these things are just written by a fucking computer.
Oh my
There's
goodness.
like no personality.
I'll tell you how you can tell. Bullet points.
Yes. And emojis, unnecessary emojis.
Bullet points, emojis. If I see bullet points that are like ROI driven emails, I'm like, there it is. It's AI. I know it is. I just know it. So yeah, I can tell right away.
That's hilarious. Yeah. We don't need any more of that bullshit in our inboxes, y'all. So if like you don't like getting it as a consumer, please don't send that as a business. I think it's just straightforward. Okay. So one of the things that I have seen like differing opinions on, especially when we're thinking about how the email platforms like Google email and whatnot they're putting more like spam protections into their system. So your email can end up in a junk box or it can end up in the promo tab. How do we structure our emails in a way that like people actually get them and they're not just ending up in the trash before we see them?
Yeah, it's all in your subject lines. So your subject lines need to be very relevant for your reader, and I'll explain why. The algorithm is based on essentially opens. So if you're having an extremely low open rate and a high frequency of emails, they're going to mark you as spam. So what you want is consistent opens, and it doesn't have to be like 60%. I like to shoot for 25% for an open rate. If you're going below 18%, I tell people worry about that. Like worry if you're under 18%. But like shoot for 25%. And the way you do that is you have to have a subject line that makes people say to themselves, this is me, or this is what I want to learn, or this is what I want to know. So no more where are you at name. Are you coming name? No more of that. You could tell I don't like those subject lines at all.
Yes.
No more of that. And I have a whole episode on literally because I got like multiple different people with the same subject lines one time. And I did a whole podcast episode because I was so upset about it just on subject lines for that reason. But that's not gonna like, people are not going to open it. They're just going to look at it. And then eventually what's going to happen is even if they're not marking you as spam, the platform will because they're just not engaging if enough people aren't engaging. So I am really big on making really relevant subject lines to the reader. So for example, if you are I'm just going to use myself as an example, email coach, instead of being like just how to grow your list, being as relevant as possible, where it's like how to grow your list as an agency owner, how to grow your list if you're a coach, how to grow your list if, you have a small social media following, etc. So it's just being, the more specific you are, the more opened you're actually going to get, which will keep your engagement healthy, which will then keep your everything else healthy. And what I tell people is like the algorithm with email is actually so easy. It's so easy. As long as you have the subject lines, you'll be fine. And
Mm,
they're not spammy or anything like that, like you'll be fine. So relevant subject lines. That's how you're going to avoid the promos and the spam.
yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yep.
Okay, talk us through what your business has been like before email marketing and after email marketing. Like, just give us perspective into how it's changed the way that you operate, the time that it's given you. And I know you talk about the fact that burnout was a real thing for you. So, how has that played into your experience now?
Yeah. Oh my goodness, I get emotional. So before email marketing, I was very busy trying to do all the things that, people tell you to do to grow your business, social media, ads, all the things. I was very busy. I was depressed and it was very hard I was also insecure. It was very hard for me to show up on video. I have stuff around like, I'm not good at articulating myself and I don't sound smart and all this stuff. And so super insecure. At the time when I was starting my business, I had a pixie cut that I hated. So like I hated how I looked. Like I just hated everything. And so it was hard for me to show up on video and I hated it and I was miserable and I would launch and it was like, make sure you show up on video every day and make sure you do reels and make sure you do live video. I will never forget I had a launch where reels had just released,
Mm,
like killed the algorithm if you weren't doing reels. And I was heartbroken because I was like, why did my launch hinge on this random platform update?
yeah.
And so my life before email marketing was, even then I was using email marketing, but it wasn't my primary focus. And before that, it was just like being reliant on social media, not having fun with it anymore. I used to love social media. Then it didn't feel fun anymore. It felt like such an obligation. It felt heavy. It felt hard. I was depressed. If I had a really bad depressive episode, there would be weeks where I wasn't selling my offer.
Mm,
And I just didn't want that anymore. I knew that wasn't the mark of a scalable business. I wanted $1 million business that was peaceful. And so, and I was burned out. And that's a whole other podcast episode, super burned out and just hustling really hard, doing too much.
yeah.
Now, with email marketing, for me, I have one thing to do, and it's write emails, and then everything else is extra. If I want to make a reel, I get to make a reel. If
Yeah.
I want to do a live video, I get to do a live video. If I want to go on stories, I get to go on stories, but I don't have to make money. And that sigh of relief is like visceral, like it's deep for me. Being busy, being depressed, being sick, knowing that I could be all of those things and I can still make money. I remember I had a family emergency during COVID. My father-in-law, he's okay now, thank God. But at the time, he was like on his deathbed. And there was no working for me. Like it was immediate. It's just drop everything, be with your family for months at that point.
Yeah.
And because of email, I still made money. My business still ran. That to me is like invaluable. And now I have $1 million business. I make $1 million a year with email marketing as my primary strategy. And it's peaceful because I did it without hustling on social media, without doing all these different things. And even if I do decide, because I always say I want to make social media optional. Some people want to love social media again. So even if I do decide to use it, it's just nice that my business doesn't hinge on it. I had a client once tell me email marketing is a business model decision. And focusing on email marketing is a business model decision. And I love that she said that because it really is. I notice in $1 Million Email, when people start making email their primary marketing strategy, something in them shifts as a CEO. Like it's
Mhm.
like, I'm building a business that is not reliant on my face, that is not reliant on my energy, that is not reliant on my mental health. Like I'm building a business that is built to run without me. Like there's something that switches with my clients and they become CEOs rather than solopreneurs, like you said.
Mhm.
And that's email for me. That's email.
I love that, because I think the freedom that you're talking about and the capacity to just like be a whole ass human that has a whole ass life is facilitated in how you build your business. And I think email marketing has played a huge role in that process for me as well. Just knowing that it's not all about just dancing on TikTok, y'all. Like there are other options out here. So
And boy, did I try. Boy, did I
Wait,
try.
haven't we all?
I remember in like 2020, I was doing like the Kardashian voiceovers on the reels and like trying to be cute. And I'm just like all the trends. And I'm just like, I can't do it.
Yeah.
I can't do it. And it's not being able to write an email and just walk away and be done. That's what I want for my business.
Yeah, that's what I want for everybody's business. I want people
Too.
to really enjoy what you're building and not feel like you are a slave to all of these things that you might not necessarily want to do. So, Kirsten, I want to thank you first off for sharing all your amazing expertise. We only scratched the surface, and I know that you work professionally with folks who want to become email marketing experts and who want to create businesses that bring them peace and lots of dinero. So, tell us where we can find you. Tell us again about your offers. I think you have a podcast, so tell us all the things.
Yes, if you want a lot of peace and a lot of money, because we want both. We don't just want peace. We want peace and money. Lots and lots of money. Designer bags, first class, spa days. I'm all about it. If you want a lot of peace and a lot of money, go to my website, KirstenRoldan.com, and you will be able to see all my stuff. You'll learn about $1 Million Email. You'll learn about $1 Million CEO. And we have a training, actually, a free training called How to Replace Your Social Media Income. So the current income that you're making on social media with email. So check that out. And then I do have a podcast as well called $1 Million Piece. Lots of free email marketing content, as well as operations content, team and systems content. And so if you want peace and money, go follow me. And I am on Instagram occasionally when I want to be. So you can follow me there too if you want, at Kirsten Roldan. But definitely my email list is where I spend the most time.
I love it. And we're going to make sure to link all of those resources in the episode show notes because we all want more peace and more money. Kirsten, Thank you so much for joining us on the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.